Hello and welcome to your next edition of the Monthly Review on Travel Market Life. Today we're going to be looking at developments in rail travel with our special guest, Stephen Robey from Eurostar, and also an interview with Anna Davis, the Director of Partnership Marketing at Railbookers Group. Joining me are my regular panellists, James Clark, Claire Steiner and Will Plummer.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Okay guys, so it's rail travel time. What do you think of rail travel then, James? What's your thoughts on it? Are you a keen train spotter?
It's overpriced. It's often quite stressful, particularly in the UK. And I think the challenges that we have in the UK, and I'm being all out there for this one, is that because we use it so often for business and not leisure, we view train travel completely different to what Europeans see train travel as, which is this picturesque, big glass windows, views out the window, and very, very cheap.
I tell you what, if you watch Michael Portillo, you'll fall in love with rail. Or if you're a steam train enthusiast, I probably spend most of my time down at Swanage Railway recently during this summer, and it's been fascinating. They do the proper choo-choo as well, which is great.
Oh, I love a good steam train, though.
Yeah, nothing like it, is there, eh? So Claire, what about you? What's your relationship with rail?
Do you know what? If I take the business part out of it, and I absolutely agree with what James is saying there, I've had some amazing train trips around the world. I think some of the ones that stand out for me would be the maglev train in China, which is the one that doesn't meet the line, so it's magnetic polar opposite, so you cruise along. And I also did the high speed from Shanghai to Beijing, which was phenomenal. And actually, I think with things like that, it takes we talked about stressful, but it takes stress out of flying, because actually the time it took was less than it would have taken us to get to the airport a couple of hours ahead, lose your luggage, put it on the plane, hoping it's going to get off at the other end, and you're just doing the whole thing all the way. So that's, incredibly smooth and less stressful experience, I think. So I really like that side of it. And actually, I think Europe, as James was saying, has a very different relationship with trains than we do. And I remember a wonderful train trip from Florence down to Naples, incredibly fast, very smooth, and I got to see some amazing countryside on the way down. So there's a lot to be said for train travel.
It is incredibly romantic, or it can be at least.
And I think steam trains are very evocative as well, aren't they?
And in the country you go to, I mean, I remember being in Vietnam and, heading to the toilet and see the tracks move underneath. Or when you're in America, and I decided to take a train from Los Angeles to San Francisco, which I was told was going to be a 5-hour trip, and was actually on a freight train and took 10 hours to get there. But fascinating 1940s dining car, which I thought was fascinating. How about Will? What's your relationship there with rail?
I can see the opportunity, and I've had some really enjoyable train journeys. I've taken a great route through the mountains from Zurich into Laeken, I think it was, and just stunning views. You go up the side of the mountain on the train, glass roof, beautiful, dodgy train journeys through Thailand and Vietnam. But I really struggle with, firstly, the infrastructure, the cost, how long is it going to take. I mean, I'm not a particularly slow traveller. I like to get from A to B. And I do think if there is going to be a shift, which there should be, because there is opportunity, we have to change the mindset, especially for the UK market. Everyone does want to get from A to B, and it's not a pleasant experience in the UK at the moment. So how do we get that connectivity between the two things, and how do we shift people and their mindset onto something else? Personally, I like a plane because no one can get hold of me, which is a me problem I appreciate, but that's the kind of challenge that you're facing, especially in a world that is incredibly connected and incredibly fast-paced. So,
I don't know, Will. My mother was texting me on her way to New York the other week. That's how scary plane travel's changed. So I don't think you're quite disconnected. You can't lie anymore and say that you're in the air.
I can. Trust me, my mum can't get hold of me during that
time.
Where
they can't get hold of me? On South West Rail. That is for certain. So I think you're more disconnected on a train. But it is fascinating. I mean, the infrastructure in Europe, when I've travelled in Germany or Spain on rail, has been particularly fast and efficient. But there is such change ahead, with nationalisation here in the UK, but also the growth of multimodal travel and websites that are able to help help you go from A to B and identify the different types of transport that you can use, really incorporating the options of rail. So we're going to hear a little bit more about really what are some of the trends involved in rail travel at the moment. I first spoke to Anna Davis, Director of Partnership Marketing at Railbookers Group, and I asked her first, tell us a bit about Railbookers Group and what you do.
Yeah, Railbookers, put simply, simplifies holidays by rail worldwide. So we create packages that are inclusive of not only the rail tickets, but also hotel accommodation, sightseeing, transfers, flights, and more. Customers can also join from their local UK station. And we really simplify putting all of that together as a one-stop shop.
Excellent. So you are setting the scene for today's monthly review, looking at rail with our studio audience here who are going to be dissecting some of the trends that you're going to be sharing. So firstly, Anna, top 5 destinations. What are we looking at?
So, as ever for Railbookers, Switzerland and Italy still continue to lead the charge. Switzerland and Italy are always very, very popular for Railbookers customers. But we're also seeing France, USA and Norway in the mix at the moment. Norway has been a bit of a surprise contender in our top 5, but also great to see the USA climbing back into the top 5 as well. Lots of national park, coast-to-coast America trips. And also for France, we are seeing a bit of a resurgence there of customers travelling to Provence, to Bordeaux, and exploring all that France has to offer right on our doorstep.
Do we have any idea why Norway is suddenly appearing in the list?
I think some of it is to do with cruise, honestly, and we do see a lot of crossover between a cruise customer and a Railbookers and a rail customer generally. I think it's a fairly well-known territory for exploring by cruise, and we're seeing some of that extend onto land. Perhaps a natural place to go after Switzerland, after Italy. We are seeing that sort of customer perhaps a second or third time, but with us that they're looking for something a bit different, but still relatively close to home.
But Central Europe is not being left behind.
Absolutely not. So combinations like Berlin, Prague, Vienna and Budapest, that is absolutely the sort of trip that we make easy. That is multi-city, multi-centre, lots of different railway companies in the mix there that we make seamless. And it's that sort of concept almost of cruising by land. Customers travel directly to the city centre, get off the train, explore for a few days, jump back on the train and travel to the next city.
You've alluded a little bit to the average traveller profile, but give us a quick snapshot. What do they look like?
Sure. Our average traveller is 55 and over. They are typically travelling as a couple. And they, as I say, may very well have cruised before because it has such a strong crossover there. Whilst a couple may travel on their own, we're also seeing them perhaps discuss that with a couple of friends and they also choose to join. So we may have groups of 4 or sometimes 6 travelling with us. And we're also seeing multi-generational travel come in as well. So lots of grandparents taking grandchildren and their children away. What continues under all of this for a huge majority of Railbookers holidays is that it's around celebrations of some sort, whether that is a big anniversary, a big birthday, perhaps a graduation present from grandparents to grandchildren, but also widening the age range a little bit. We're also seeing honeymoon travellers coming in as well. And for example, choosing to travel coast to coast across Canada on Via Rail for a honeymoon with a bit of a difference.
But while the average duration is 8.6 nights, that is not enough of the pie. Tell us a little bit more about the differentiation of the product.
Yes, you're right. Our average duration right now is between 8 and 9 nights, but that can also be a weekend break to Bruges or a 56-day trip around the world by luxury train. So there is no fixed itinerary with Railbookers. That's the beauty of what we put together.
So now we delve into the data. Tell us some of the key observations you're noting.
We see a lot of first class travel and we see a lot of luxury still in the mix. And this has been an ongoing trend for a couple of years. And we're also seeing still a lot of people booking for the same year. So, even if customers are looking to get away for the Christmas break in a few months' time, we've still got options for them to do that.
Luxury, last minute, and a lot of upgrades in rail then.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
So with all that in mind, what's one question that's on your lips?
How can we help travel agents sell more? How can we help travel agents identify the opportunity that rail travel presents?
So that was Anna Davis, Director of Partnership Marketing at Railbookers Group. And welcoming into the studio now is Stephen Robey from Eurostar. Thanks ever so much for joining us here, Stephen. So 30 years that Eurostar's been around.
Yeah, we're still quite a baby, really. 30 years people think we're quite young, but we've been around the block a few times by now, and we hopefully know what we're doing.
But as you say, a baby, so it sounds like things are evolving a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of new things that you're working on at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite a long relationship of connecting customers between the UK and mainland Europe. And a couple of years ago, we merged with a company called Thalys, which was a French-Belgian high-speed rail company. So now we have a wider range of connecting products that we can get customers to. You don't have to go to the Channel Tunnel to travel by Eurostar anymore. You can go from Paris to Cologne, Brussels to Rotterdam, anywhere sort of within our 5 operating countries. So much more options under the one name to make it easier for the customer.
I guess I should just rewind a little bit, I feel, because, I think Eurostar and I just think Paris.
Yep.
So
it's still number one.
give us, how would you describe then Eurostar as a business and what it actually offers?
So obviously we're well known as the London to Paris is the first thing that everyone thinks of. We have a large amount of corporate customers that travel with us. We have a lot of people visiting friends and relatives that live overseas in mainland Europe, the city breakers, the river cruisers, the multi-destination stuff that Anna was talking about, the people that are flying in long haul. North America is a core market for us, performs extremely well. People come to London or to Paris. They want to go on that train that goes under the sea. So we're kind of a tourist attraction in our own right. So all kinds of customers we have, any budgets, 3 classes of travel. We've got something for everybody and no luggage fees. So
absolute key. So on that trip under the sea, do you got windows yet to be able to see the fishies?
Yes. No fish. No. Surprising how much that question gets asked, but no.
I can imagine.
Definitely not.
So those trends there, obviously, firstly, those destinations, you've expanded your destinations, Paris still being number 1 for you. But how are you seeing those other destinations for Eurostar? Like she mentioned, Swiss, Italy, France, you pick up on sort of that sort of market.
Yeah, I mean, at the crux of it, we are a train operating company, so that has to remain our key focus. So yes, we provide the connection into mainland Europe, and then all of our high-speed rail partners around can obviously take their customers we drop them off, and they can take a connecting train through the other operators. We don't necessarily sell everything to everybody. It'd be quite a challenge, I think. But it's about how we make those connections as easy as we can, working with the providers to try and simulate timetables, making sure that the ticket collectors, because different trains go on sale at different times. So, if you're planning a multi-destinational trip, a rail specialist like, for example, Railbookers or Byway or any of the others, they can pull all that together for you. If you're confident in yourself and you're maybe just doing the Eurostar journey, great. If you've got a more complex itinerary, you've got to probably do a bit of research or ask somebody else to research it for you. But it's exciting times for us. We haven't had a normal year for a while. We've had the merge, we've got new destinations. We had the Olympics in Paris last year. There's more and more coming in the plan for the next few years as well. So I think rail is ever evolving. There's such a focus on it now, and there's so much opportunity. So
let's take the segments that she mentioned.
Yep.
And you tell me how Eurostar helps.
Okay.
Luxury.
So obviously we have our Eurostar Premier, which is our highest class of travel with dedicated fast tracks, extra luggage, business lounges, full ticket flexibility, boarding guarantees. It's the pinnacle of what we've got to offer. So anybody that's traveling, maybe taking an Orient Express trip, they need to get to Paris, they're going for a fortnight, they need more than one suitcase in the hold, it's all covered with us. You can add to different things. If you've got the upgrade options, for example, you can upgrade into the high classes of travel. So if you made your original booking, we're making it easier for people to add that luxury to their trip and build on it and add little bits and pieces as they go. We've got new chefs on board now, Michelin star chefs, pulling all of our menus together for the luxury traveller as well. So
excellent. And then multi-generational.
Yep. I'm going to mention Disneyland Paris here. It's the easiest one to come to. I think we have quite large family groups now traveling. The grandparents are looking to give the kids the experience now. I think, sending them on their way with some pocket money is not quite the same anymore. I think they want to be involved and enjoy it with the family. And likewise, the parents want the whole family to come, and they make them quite fun holidays, and there's something for everyone. Again, visiting friends and family is another one, that the grandparents might be in the south of France somewhere, the family go to visit, so that, or they'll come back to visit. Sometimes, the mother might take the children to France to spend a week with their dad, and then their dad will bring them back to London to drop them back off. There's all sorts of different things that involve themselves with that. So, and it's so easy with the train, like you say, there's no check-in, there's no luggage faffing around. It's all easy when you know what you're doing. So, yeah.
I mean, she posed a really interesting question, right? Especially to British travellers. Yeah. How do you sell more? And I guess Railbookers, you're one of their suppliers.
Yep.
So, what is the ways in which you're trying to inspire and capture the imagination of British travellers to really sort of consider rail as a mode of travel or as a mode of holidaying, but also for agents to really put that in front of their customers?
Yeah, there's the sustainable element is a big part of what's being talked about, especially with the younger generations now. The requirements are to have an experience, to be cost effective, to be sustainable, to provide an entire sort of a journey to that customer and give them something to talk about and to share with their friends. So for us, we've recently opened a TikTok account, would you believe? So, we're trying to reach different generations in different ways. For agents, I think there's agents are well established in their understanding and their knowledge of air travel. As the big surge in rail travel is sort of building and building, I think the knowledge and the experience will come. For me, I take agents on the train as much as I can, so they experience it themselves, and then they've got the tools to sell it on to the customer. We work with the specialists. If you're looking to sell, you're an agent, and you're not as experienced in rail travel sales as you'd like to be, there are specialists out there that can put these itineraries together for you. And it's how we connect those agents with people like Anna now to make sure that they know where to go to get the advice and to get the expert knowledge. So for me, I try to work as closely with them to provide as much information as I can and to help with that. But it's definitely growing. It's definitely becoming more. The more agents I talk to, the more they know about the trains these days. I think they're gradually building their repertoire of what they can sell. And for us, it's about making sure that we're visible alongside the non-train operators to remind agents that we can take their customers at the same time.
I mean, it's one of the key products, I believe, with Travel Zoo, isn't it, James? Is an option of train travel, and I guess is tapping into the trends, sustainability, like Steve mentioned here, but also things like slow travel.
So train travel for us from a consumer member perspective is one of the fastest growing trends of all the trends we've had. Some of the big reasons why it allows members to spend more time in destination, makes it more immersive. They're stretching out their holidays, which comes on to the point she raised around the average stay for Railbookers, which is a big piece. The other piece is around accessible travel. I'm sure Steve will confirm this, but for those people who are not looking to spend a lot of time in an airport, go up and down stairs, be squashed on a plane, actually Rail Journey does offer a lot of benefits for accessible travel. So that's another big win. And I think there is an element to be said with rail journeys that is starting to make the transport part of the experience. So we've talked about this, but going through Europe I'm just going to use Europe as the example here, but everyone's referenced there about the views out the window, taking on board. It's a little bit like a river cruise. You're taking on board the destination whilst in the destination. Let's be honest, when you fly, you're not looking out the window and viewing anything really, apart from when you're landing, and that's only a few seconds. So train travel is encompassing so many extra benefits of travel. For me personally, though, if I'm going to just throw another counter in there, is that I still feel there's train travel is undersold, particularly around the convenience side. I don't think enough consumers in the market are being offered train travel as a solution. I think the go-to is we'll offer you a flight, or when you're traveling abroad, we'll offer you a car for fly drive. It's not, oh, we can actually connect you between those two cities with a train. I've got friends who are out in America at the moment, and they're getting a train in America. They're doing quite a bit of travel, and they said, actually, we've looked at it, and train's a lot more affordable, and it's going to be more fun for the kids. But that's only because he's kind of really researched it and looked into it. But a lot of people would say, well, I'll just jump in the car and spend 6 hours in a car. So it's undersold massively in my eyes.
I was going to pick up on a couple of points. One, I was going to say being with tourist attractions. So there are the world's great train journeys, and James was picking up on the been looking out the windows, and as I said, I've experienced that myself. I just, from a personal experience, I would also say pick up on the point about the kids having a better time. So one of my great friends and her goddaughter, who's her daughter, and her little ones did Euro Disney, and they looked at flying from a local regional airport and everything else, but actually they decided to go by Eurostar. The kids absolutely loved it. So much more stress-free, as both Granny and Mother said. We didn't have, the whole issue of getting kids on and off the plane and the airport experience and everything else. We had our luggages the whole time, and it was an adventure for the children for doing that high speed under the tunnel. So I think there's a huge amount of that. But I agree with you. I think there needs to be more promotion around the benefits of it. And actually, you were talking about the fact, it's time poor, and I think as business travelers, yes, we all want to get from A to B very quickly. But actually, as I said, like my China trip actually took less time than it would have been, because I was on a high-speed train, to have gone to the airport and flown up and then gone to the airport experience. So I think, again, there's that kind of like a lack of understanding about sometimes it can save time because you don't have to do that check-in 2 hours before and everything else. So
I agree, but I think it's an image thing, and I get it's probably the UK market, as we're saying at the outset, it's a perception of how long it takes, etc., and it's not being sold. It's in comparison to air travel, look at the marketing that the likes of Ryanair do. No one is really doing the same on that basis, I would contest. And so then it becomes a choice. I think rail has got to focus on what it does really well, first and foremost, and where it goes to, and really try and dominate those markets, which I don't feel, and I am prepared to be proved wrong and told I'm wrong, but I don't feel that necessarily they're going that hog to dominate the Paris market or the Paris. I know there was the French ambition to get rid of internal flights, which I think they've backtracked on now. They've really got to go the whole hog, I think, if we're going to make a meaningful change, and it's probably going to need some kind of subsidy, because these operators have got to make money, and it's probably going to have to be a loss leader, which probably needs a subsidy from somewhere. But that is how you're going to make meaningful change from the sustainability side of things. And I think that is what will then drive change to actually change the mode of transport. But you need to counter those two things. One is the marketing and the ambition on that, and two is how you contest on the cost side of things.
I also feel that a big benefit for train travel in the near future is the change in drip pricing that the CMA are bringing in, which is particularly around airlines. So we look at an airline seat. First off, they're really pushing to include bags now as a minimum a certain weight. But we all know you look at an airfare, you end up spending a lot more once you've booked your seats, once you've booked your bags. Comparable to train travel, where the seat allocation will probably be included as standard. The baggage is obviously included. There's a big cost save there. But on the face of it, airfare looks cheaper. You're picking up your seats at $19.99. When you've ended up, you're actually well over £150, £200, where the train travel in the first place, which was maybe pitched at £119 return, you would have initially said, well, I'll just go with the flights at $19.99 return. So drip pricing, when those laws change, that will enhance the value prop that train travel has.
And actually, just from an image perspective, you mentioned about, you're seeing the younger generation, you've got your TikTok account. My niece did interrailing, right, and a couple of years ago, and she had a brilliant time. Now, in my day, interrailing was a real thing, and it kind of seemed to have dropped off a bit. And I think maybe that's because of the rise of low-cost airlines and destinations becoming that much more sort of available, if you like, for the younger generation. But actually, are you, and that was going to be my question, are you seeing a rise coming back from the interrailing, or is it just because I'm sort of a Mr. Generation out that I haven't noticed it as much?
I'd say yes. People I talk to within the industry are often telling me that they're interrailing around Europe in certain times of the year. the travel agents and tour operators that I work with are showing a lot more interest in the Interrail and Eurail pass fares that are sold because of the shift to the multi-stop journeys. So because you're traveling to 2 or 3 different countries within Europe, it does obviously make it more cost effective if you've got that pass. And there's a lot more agents asking me about it than I've known before. So I think for sure, it's definitely, I think, again, the way that market has moved into social media, the experience is what's driving that generation to want to do something that they're seeing other people doing. Because unless you're in a super fancy plane, you're not going to get much content, are you, for your account? But whereas you go on a train, you've got all of the scenery, you've got all of the different sort of the train stations. The beauty of some of the train stations in Europe themselves, it's regardless of the travel part, it's just the buildings are beautiful as well. So yeah, I think there's definitely more appetite than I've known in the time I've been here for those kind of trips and the interrailing.
There's definitely a lot more. I mean, a friend of mine has spent last year interrailing with her family, her young kids, I think 6 and 8, and they have an absolutely wild time. They absolutely love being on the trains. So we're certainly hopefully helping those people who sell travel to really consider rail here.
I agree. And look, I love the Eurostar, both for business and leisure. I've taken the family on it, absolutely love it. But I think exactly to the points that's being said, I think it's undersold. I think, do you have some okay, I was going to say there must be some stats, but do you have some stats in terms of if you take London to Paris as a route, firstly in terms of the numbers that you take versus airline and what percentage of the market you take? Do you have anything on that?
Up to date, no. I would say it's definitely above 50 to be conservative in so I don't over egg it. But yeah, we're definitely have a good market share. And for us, that's the thing, because Amsterdam is quite new for us. And now that we've just had our beautiful new terminal opened in Amsterdam, we're able to more than double the number of customers per train we can take. So that is a market, the London to Netherlands and the Netherlands to the UK as well, obviously, is something that we now need to build to equal Paris and Brussels, because we've had it for 7, 8 years now. But again, the infrastructure is changing, the capacity is growing. We've gone from 3 trains a day at the moment to 5 trains a day on the 15th of December, 650 people per train. That's a lot of people per day that can come off of a plane and go on the train and get that experience and not pay for luggage. And I know the liquid airport thing is changing, but at the moment, there's no weight restriction on your suitcase. There are no liquid restrictions. Grab a few beers and go off to Amsterdam you go.
And I think that's brilliant. And look, that speaks to naivety on my part of the London to Paris side of things. But 100% as you expand these other destinations, that is what, not just for Eurostar, but the future of train travel, it is going to be so important to really get across that message and about it. Because I think we can all agree, once we've done it, and once you've done it with kids or family members or whatever else, it's a wonderful experience. And wherever possible, I would replace one with the other.
I mean, I think you've got to think about that other additional value. Like James said, it's not just about the flight and the added extras. You got to think about, okay, you got to get to the airport, where you're going to park your car, how much the taxi going to be, how much is now the entry charges to get a car into the airport, which is constantly increasing. The time that takes to make that journey there, whereas as you could just go to your local train station and make your journey there. And if you get it right, and I did this trip to Manchester recently, and I had to constantly keep checking the different routes to get the least changes. And actually, it took only 4 and a bit hours to get up to Manchester from where I am down on the south. It was 2 changes, but they were very swift changes. And although at one point I thought, God, this is expensive, I also thought, well, actually, I can take my laptop, I can work for 3 hours, which is better than driving where I can't do anything at all. I didn't arrive exhausted having driven for 4.5 hours. I arrived rejuvenated and ready for my pint. So when you take all of that into account, it is so much more relaxing.
I'll contest that. And I'm very fortunate. We live relatively close to Peterborough. It comes straight into King's Cross. It costs more money to get 4 of us from Peterborough to King's Cross return than it did to get from St Pancras across to Paris. on the train.
Oh God! Okay,
so
we're not going down that route.
But that's part of the experience. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying. But the whole point of a trip and the whole enjoyment is what leads up to getting to the airport, what leads up to getting to the station, and the cost of doing that. And it does all add up, and that's got to be addressed as the big elephant in the room.
Well, two things I'd add. One, train, we talked about the cost, but parking at train station is becoming ferocious, which is putting people off. Like airports, which have gone up, but train stations are becoming, my daily parking is nearly £12 a day, and I'm in Hertfordshire. So that's every day just coming to London. So if I was to park my car there for a week, because I connect to King's Cross, which can get the Eurostar, but if I left my car there for a week, that's a big expense I'm adding just to park at a train station. You'd think there'd be a partnership between the rail lines and the car parking stations, but it's all privatised and all separate. So I think that's a shame. I think the other thing which comes with rail, which is really funny, we can all recall a bad rail experience, and we can all recall bad flying experiences and airport experiences, but you're less forgiving with trains. I think because we use them so often, we're less forgiving. So we often talk about train experiences being awful or bad when you're delayed for 5 hours and you're only doing a 2-hour train journey. Yet when you're delayed on a 4-hour aircraft, you soon forget it and you're back on a plane 6 months later. But maybe that's because I fly a lot more for work, but I know that I'm less forgiving when it comes to trains.
Oh, it's true. I mean, if I'm going to fly, I can guarantee there's going to be a problem. I'm forgiving of it, which is just absolutely crazy. Right, we are coming up to time. I think it's absolutely fascinating, sort of like the options and the considerations involved in rail travel today, from everything from the options of multi-city, multi-destination, the luxury, the upgrades that you can get in, as well as the alternative to cruise. Like Anna was saying, Steve, it is a land cruise, right?
Yeah, it is, and you can see all these different places just the same as you could do on a cruise, or you could see a few places, then do a cruise and go even further, and it's great. So yeah, I think the continuation of the evolution of this rail renaissance we all talk about is exciting times at the moment. So much that we're kind of hearing about coming in the next few years as well, just to really give everybody all of the opportunities and the options they might need. And the high-speed lines are being built all over the place. The destination potential for the future is great.
The UK.
Yeah.
We don't talk about
that. I'm just going to be highly controversial, but what you'll realise is that's what I'm all about. But if there was no limitation around lines, etc., which I appreciate that there is there a space for a RyanTrain or something coming into the market like Ryanair and dominating, which would be the big push that rail travel ultimately needs?
There's definitely space. It's no secret at the moment. The rumours are out there about potential operators joining us on the high-speed lines between the UK and France and further afield. We've already got competitors running on the continental side, France to Belgium, France to the Netherlands. They started this year offering a slower, lower cost option. And there are people out there that would want that. The high speed, bells and whistles that you can get with all the add-ons, the catering and the Wi-Fi and the plug sockets and everything are there for those that will want to do that. If you want to spend twice as long and seat only, it might be right. If you've got the time, if you want to do that, gets you off of a car, puts you into the train, and then gradually encourages you to look at using rail more and more. And there's got to be competition. Otherwise, it just gets stagnant, doesn't it, at the end of the day, to keep us all moving, keep us all motivated. So yeah, I think I've heard different things about different people who might potentially start running London to Paris in the next 5 years, offering all sorts of different options, alongside us. So
watch your space, see what happens. Well, Stephen Robey from Eurostar, thank you ever so much for joining us today. I think there is certainly a lot of interesting opportunity there, and one that we will be following up with, that is for sure, on Travel Market Life. So from myself, Ryan Haynes, our panellists James Clark, Claire Steiner and Will Plummer, that's it for this episode. But check out all our other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to our channel either on LinkedIn, Travel Market Life, or on our website, website travelmarket.life. Thank you very much. Ciao for now.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.